Welcome all. In this video, we'll discuss about framework. What really a framework? Most of the freshers confused with framework and technologies. So in this video, I'm going to explain the difference between them and why we need a framework. So let's start. A framework is a layer which is created on top of an existing technology. A framework itself is not a new technology. We can also call a framework as an abstracting layer, where framework has an API, a group of packages, which facilitate programmers to develop a Java project easily. So let me explain this one. Means if you write a Java project, right? So in this project, you have to create a multiple queries and multiple operations with related to databases and connections, right? So every time you have to make connections and all, right, and closing that connections, opening connection, closing that connection, like that. So what framework does? So framework automatically open a connection for you, and after completing your operation, it will closes the connection to the databases which has been generated, right? So this is a small example, we'll talk about it later, right? So here a framework has types. So it is mainly categorized into two types. First is invasive or intrusive framework. Second is non-invasive or non-intrusive framework. So what is what is an invasive framework? Invasive frameworks forces developers to extend or implement a class or interface provided by framework. For example, Struts is a framework, right? So this framework is forces to the developer to implement the interfaces or extend the class. So it is an invasive framework which forces you to extends or implements that framework's class to doing some operations. So next another one is on non-invasive frameworks. It doesn't force a developer to extend or implement a class or interface provided by the framework, just like a Spring and Hibernate. So it never ever to force developer to extend or implement the interface or classes, right? So in Java, invasive frameworks are struts, JSF, and etc. And in Java, non-invasive frameworks are Spring, Hibernate, and etc. Right? Okay. So now we are going to see why we really need a framework. Before frameworks are introduced in market, we developed some of the developed Java projects with existing Java technologies. It is very common that multiple Java projects are going to have a common functionalities. When working with technologies, a developer need to write coding for common functionalities individually. Developing a complete source code of a project becomes a burden on a developer, and also a project's commit be developed to the client early. As a solution for the above problem, frameworks got introduced by the third-party vendors. Frameworks will differently provide some common functionality of the project source code. So developers can start the source of the project from the middle, and it can be deliver a project to the client early. Finally, with the framework, developers' burden has been decreased. So in short, the framework is reduces the boilerplate code from the projects. That's it. Thank you guys.